Hello, I'm back with another Dollar Tree DIY for this cute little snowman. So if you want to see how I made him, go ahead and keep watching. I took one of the Dollar Tree wooden snowmen, and I've been trying to figure out what to do with this guy for a long time. So I decided to take some of this black buffalo check black and white fabric. I think I got this one at Walmart, but I have seen it at the Dollar Tree as well. Actually, no, this is from the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to take Mod Podge and just place it where I want the fabric to stick. Again, you can do this with paper. It's probably easier, but I didn't want to have to trace anything out. And with this, you can just cut out a chunk of the fabric and stick it on there and let it dry, and then cut it out along the edges with a razor. Like you can see me doing here. So just make sure you have a piece big enough to cover the area that you want. And this is more than enough, but I'd rather have too much than not enough. And press around, make sure it's all smoothed out. And I like to make little dents with my fingers where the edges are, so it's easier to see where to cut it with the razor when it's time. And then if you don't work fast enough, you usually have to go back and add some extra Mod Podge to the edges so it doesn't end up peeling up when you are finished. Going to do the same thing with his scarf. So again, just make sure that you have enough fabric to cover that area. And then I'm adding the Mod Podge just where I want the fabric to stick. Give it a nice good coat, spread it out. Make sure you are going all the way to the edges. And then go ahead and do the same thing. Press it on, make sure there are no wrinkles and that you are pushing it down all the way to the edge. And then making those little grooves with your fingers so it's easier to see where to go back and use the razor to trim the excess off once it has dried. So you want it to dry completely. If you don't, it's going to wrinkle up and you're going to have a hard time cutting it with the razor. Also, the only thing that's under my snowman is that paper, so I have to be really careful to make sure I don't cut through the paper and down to my table underneath. And the cutting is kind of tedious. It took me maybe 10 or 15 minutes to go around the hat and the scarf. Just trim all the way around the edges, and then you should be able to pull the excess fabric away, and then it will stick to only the places that you want it to stick. So once it's done, I put a coat of Mod Podge over the top, and my Mod Podge had a little goober stuck in it. It actually was quite fun to pull it out, but just kept coming and coming and ugh. Okay, I think we got it. All right, so give it a nice coat of Mod Podge so everything is sealed down. And at this part, I like to pay close attention to the edges and kind of go down over the sides. So if there's any little bits of extra fabric on there, that it just kind of folds over the edges and you have a nice looking edge. And I got a little too much on there, so I tried to scoop some of it off and put it down where the scarf was, because I gave that a coat of the Mod Podge on top as well. And as that is drying, I'm going to take my Waverly white chalk paint and paint just what I'm going to call the fuzzy areas of the snowman's hat. So here on the brim, and then I'm also going to cover, I guess what you would call the little pom-pom, the poof ball on the edge of his hat. And I ended up letting this first coat dry, and then I did one more quick second coat on top of this. And it dries really quick, within like 5 minutes. So I didn't have to wait too long. And the next thing that I'm going to do is, as that dries, I'm going to paint the snowman's nose. This is pumpkin orange, I think is the name of it. And I just gave it a couple of quick coats, and that's all I did for the nose. And my head gets in the way here a little bit, sorry about that. And now we are ready to give the fuzzy parts of the hat some texture. And this is some fabric paint from the Dollar Tree. You can also get it at Walmart. And I'm just going to use this to kind of put little dabs or dots onto the snowman's hat just to give it some texture. So you just kind of dot it on there and then spread it around a little bit with the tip. And you'll see here when I'm done, I'll hold it up closer to the camera so you can see the textured look that it gives the snowman's hat. So it's kind of fun. It dries kind of 3D and it looks a little bit puffy or textured or fuzzy or however you want to describe that. I don't know. And that takes a little bit to dry, but you can work on other things as that is drying. I'm taking my white chalk paint again, and now I'm going to paint the rest of the snowman. And I did use 2 coats for this as well. And as that is drying, I'm going to add some embellishments to the scarf and the hat. These bows are from the Dollar Tree, and I'm really into the red this year for some reason, so I decided to use a red bow. And I just cut the ties off of the back, put a good old dab of hot glue on there. And this looks like a great time to burn my fingers, but don't worry, I didn't actually burn them this time. And then I decided he needed a little more festiveness, if that's a word. So I have the tiniest bit left of that sparkle fern from Dollar Tree that I have not been able to find again. And I just trimmed off a couple of pieces. And I'm going to add those to the scarf kind of behind the little sparkly bow. And now for the eyeballs, I have some beads. I just have this big old bucket filled with like random beads and buttons. So I pulled a couple of black ones out of there. Ooh, don't burn your fingers, Nicole. Don't burn your fingers. Oh, I didn't. We're good. I do keep bumping my camera though, so sorry for that. But I use those beads for the eyes. Of course, you can use buttons. You can use little rocks. You can just draw them on there or paint them on there, whatever you have. But I like these little beads for a little 3-dimensional going on. And then for his hat, I wanted to make that festive as well. So I took another chunk of that sparkly fern and glued it on. And then I wanted berries to go on his hat, and I could not find berries anywhere. Apparently I have used all of my berries, so I stole a few from another DIY. Shh, don't tell anyone, they'll never notice. I glued those on there, and I thought it went well with the sparkly bow that he has on his scarf. So for the mouth, I had a few different ideas. I was just going to draw a little smiley face, and then I was going to do more beads. And then I decided to just do some dots with this Sharpie pen, and they weren't showing up very well. So I come back in with a Sharpie paint pen, and that one shows up much better. So I just kind of used the Sharpie pen to get my outline there of what I wanted to do. And if you don't have a Sharpie paint pen, what are you waiting for? Pick one up. I don't even know where I got this, but it wasn't at the Dollar Tree. And they just make better dots. They work better on paint and for writing, on DIYs. So I made a little polka dot mouth, and then for his buttons, I was going to use actual buttons, but I couldn't find any black ones, so I decided to just do some little dots for his buttons too. And finally, for his arms, I went outside and I cut some little branches off my dead tree. I was going to use some thicker branches from the Dollar Tree, but they just looked really stumpy, so I just cut these off from mine outside, hot glued them to the back, and then I ended up trimming them a little bit, and that is the last step. I think this little snowman turned out cute. It was very inexpensive to make, and it didn't take too much time. So thanks for watching, and hopefully this gives you some inspiration for something that you can make. Happy crafting!